Sure, here's a horror story for you. The House on the Hill. John and his friends, Alice and Tom, were on their way to a weekend retreat in a secluded cabin in the woods. They had heard rumors about a haunted house on the hill, but they laughed it off and continued on their way. As they approached the cabin, they noticed the old, abandoned house looming in the distance. John, hey guys, check out that creepy house on the hill. Maybe we should go check it out tonight. Alice, no way, John. That place looks haunted. I don't want to get involved in any spooky stuff. Tom, come on, Alice. Don't be such a scaredy cat. It'll be fun. As the night fell, the trio decided to investigate the house. They made their way up the hill, and the closer they got to the house, the more uneasy they felt. The house was decrepit and run down, with boarded up windows and a sagging roof. But something about it was drawing them in. John, this place gives me the creeps. Let's just take a quick look and get out of here. Alice, I don't like this, guys. We shouldn't be here. Tom, relax, Alice. We're just checking it out. There's nothing to be afraid of. As they stepped inside the house, they were met with darkness and silence. The floorboards creaked under their feet as they made their way through the rooms. Suddenly, they heard a noise coming from upstairs. John, did you guys hear that? Tom, yeah, let's go check it out. Alice, I really don't think we should. But before she could finish her sentence, the three friends made their way up the creaky staircase. As they reached the top, they found a room with a door slightly ajar. Inside, they saw a figure sitting in a rocking chair, facing away from them. John, hello? Is anyone there? The figure slowly turned around, revealing a gaunt, pale face with empty, soulless eyes. Its mouth opened, and a chilling voice filled the room. Figure, get out. This is not your place. John, what are you talking about? We're just. Figure, get out now. Suddenly, the figure lunged forward, revealing long, sharp claws. The friends turned and ran down the stairs, but they could hear the figure chasing them. As they burst out of the front door, they saw that the house had transformed into a sinister, twisted version of itself. The windows were now glowing with an otherworldly light, and the doors had become twisted and warped. Alice, what's happening? Why is the house changing? John, I don't know, but we need to get out of here. They ran down the hill, but the figure was still chasing them. As they reached the cabin, they saw that it too had been transformed into a twisted, dark version of itself. The friends were trapped. Tom, what do we do? How do we stop this? John, I don't know, but we have to try something. As they huddled together, they realized that the figure was now standing in front of them, blocking their escape. Figure, you should not have come here. You do not belong. Alice, please, let us go. We didn't mean any harm. Figure, it is too late for that. You have trespassed into my domain, and now you must pay the price. The figure raised its claws, and the friends closed their eyes, bracing for the worst. But then, suddenly, a bright light filled the area, and the figure let out a blood-curdling scream. The friends opened their eyes to see a group of people in white robes, holding torches and chanting in a language they didn't understand. The figure slowly faded away, and the twisted versions of the house and cabin returned to their normal forms. John, what just happened? One of the robed figures approached them and spoke in a calm voice. Figure, you stumbled upon an ancient ritual site. We have been guarding it for centuries, and we do not take kindly to intruders. You were fortunate that we were able to intervene before the figure claimed you as its own. Alice, thank you for saving us. Tom, but what was that figure? What did it want? Figure, it is better left unknown. But now that you have seen our world, you cannot leave without taking an oath of secrecy. You must swear to never speak of this place to anyone else, or face the consequences. The friends hesitated, but they knew they had no choice. They took the oath, and the robed figures led them safely back to their cabin. The rest of the weekend was uneventful, but the friends couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered with them. As they drove away from the cabin, they saw the old, abandoned house on the hill in the distance. It looked normal, but they knew that they had seen a glimpse of the dark secrets that lay hidden within. They vowed to never speak of what they had witnessed, and to never return to that place again. Years went by, and the friends had gone their separate ways, but they still kept in touch. They rarely talked about the incident at the haunted house, and when they did, it was with hushed voices and nervous glances. One day, John received a package in the mail. It was a simple brown box with no return address. He opened it, and inside he found a black book with strange symbols etched on the cover. He flipped through the pages and found a handwritten note from one of the robed figures they had encountered years ago. The note read, "We have been watching you, John. We know that you have broken your oath of secrecy. You must return to the house on the hill and make amends, or face the consequences." John's heart raced as he read the note. He had never spoken of the incident to anyone else, but he knew that he had broken his promise by confiding in his wife. He tried to dismiss the note as a prank, but he couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over him. He decided to confront his friends about the note. They were hesitant at first, but eventually, they all agreed to return to the house on the hill and make things right. As they approached the house, they saw that it had fallen into even more disrepair. The boards on the windows were now missing, and the roof had caved in. They cautiously made their way inside and found the same room where they had encountered the figure years ago. "John, we're here. We've come to make amends." There was no response. The room was still and silent. "Alice, is anyone there?" Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them. They were trapped. "Tom, what's going on? Why won't the door open?" "John, I don't know, but we have to find a way out." As they searched the room, they found a hidden compartment in the floor. Inside, they found the same black book that John had received in the mail. It was open to a page with a strange incantation written in a language they didn't recognize. "Alice, what is this? What does it say?" "John, I don't know, but I have a feeling we're about to find out." As they read the incantation aloud, the room began to shake. The floorboards creaked and groaned, and the walls started to crack. Suddenly, the figure appeared before them once again, more terrifying than ever. "Figure, you have broken your oath of secrecy. Now you must pay the price." "John, please, we didn't mean any harm. We just..." "Figure, silence. You have trespassed into our world, and now you must face the consequences." The figure raised its claws, and the friends closed their eyes, bracing for the worst. But then, the floor beneath them opened up, and they were sucked into a swirling vortex of light and darkness. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves back in the cabin, safe and sound. The haunted house on the hill was nowhere to be seen. They looked at each other in disbelief, unsure of what had just happened. "John, what was that? Did we just travel through time?" "Alice, I don't know, but I never want to go through anything like that again." "Tom, I think it's safe to say that we've learned our lesson. We'll never break our oath of secrecy again." And with that, they packed up their things and left the cabin, never to return to the house on the hill again. As they drove away from the cabin, the friends couldn't help but feel that they had left something behind. They had faced their fears and made amends, but they couldn't shake the feeling that they had missed something important. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The friends had gone back to their normal lives, but they still thought about the haunted house on the hill from time to time. Then one day, John received another package in the mail. It was a letter from one of the robed figures they had encountered at the ritual site. The letter read, "We thank you for making amends. You have proven yourselves worthy. We have one final task for you. You must return to the house on the hill and retrieve the artifact that was left behind." John showed the letter to his friends, and they knew that they had no choice but to return to the haunted house one final time. They drove up to the hill and found that the house had been restored to its former glory. It was now a beautiful mansion, with well-manicured lawns and sparkling windows. As they made their way inside, they found the same room where they had encountered the figure years ago. The room was empty, except for a pedestal in the center. On top of the pedestal was a glowing orb, pulsing with a soft white light. "Alice, is that the artifact they want us to retrieve?" "John, I think so. But we have to be careful. Who knows what could happen if we touch it?" "Tom, we don't have a choice. We have to take it back to them." As they approached the pedestal, the orb grew brighter and brighter. Suddenly, the figure appeared before them once again. "Figure, you have completed your task. Hand over the artifact, and you may leave in peace." "John, but what is this thing? What does it do?" "Figure, it is a powerful object, one that we have been guarding for centuries. We cannot reveal its secrets to those who are not worthy." "Alice, but what happens if we don't give it back to you?" "Figure, then you will face the consequences. You do not want to know what lies beyond that door." The figure pointed to a door at the far end of the room. The friends hesitated, but they knew that they couldn't risk angering the figure. They handed over the orb and left the haunted house on the hill for the final time. As they drove away, they couldn't help but wonder what secrets the orb held. They had faced their fears and completed their task, but they knew that their encounter with the haunted house on the hill would stay with them for the rest of their lives. Days after returning the orb, the friends began to notice strange things happening around them. They would hear whispers in the wind, see shadows in the corner of their eyes, and experience unexplainable events that left them questioning their sanity. Alice, do you guys feel like we're being followed? Tom, I don't know. Maybe we're just being paranoid. John, no, I feel it too. It's like something is watching us. As the days went by, the friends became more and more convinced that something was wrong. They decided to investigate the orb and find out what it was that they had handed over to the mysterious figure. They discovered that the orb was a powerful object that had been used in ancient rituals to summon otherworldly beings. These beings were said to be able to grant wishes and make people's dreams come true, but at a great cost. They would demand a sacrifice in return, often something that the person cherished the most. John, we have to get that orb back. We can't let those beings use it for their own purposes. Tom, but how are we going to get it back? We don't even know who those figures were or where they are now. Alice, we have to find them. We have to make them give us back the orb. The friends set out on a quest to find the figures and retrieve the orb. They searched high and low, through forests and across rivers, until they finally came across a group of figures performing a ritual similar to the one they had seen years ago. John, we have to act fast. We can't let them finish the ritual. Tom, but how are we going to stop them? We don't even know what we're up against. Alice, we have to use our fear against them. We have to show them that we're not afraid anymore. The friends charged towards the figures, shouting and screaming, using their fear as a weapon. The figures were taken aback, and they retreated, leaving the orb behind. As the friends picked up the orb, they felt a surge of power coursing through their veins. But they also knew that they had just unleashed something dangerous into the world. They didn't know what kind of beings would come forth from the orb, or what they would demand in return. John, we have to destroy it. We can't let anyone else use it. Tom, but how? It's too powerful. We can't just throw it away. Alice, we have to go back to the haunted house on the hill. That's where it all began, and that's where it should end. The friends drove back up to the haunted house on the hill, and as they entered the room where they had found the orb, they heard a voice calling out to them. Voice, you have unleashed a power that you cannot control. The consequences will be dire. John, who are you? Voice, I am the guardian of the orb. I have been waiting for someone like you to come and take it back to where it belongs. Alice, but what will happen to us? What about the beings that were summoned? Voice, they will return to where they came from. But you will have to pay a price for your actions. You will be marked forever, and your lives will never be the same. As the friends placed the orb back on the pedestal, they felt a surge of energy coursing through their bodies. They knew that their lives would never be the same again, but they also knew that they had done the right thing. As they left the haunted house on the hill for the final time, they couldn't help but feel relieved that it was all over. But, suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the trees, and they heard a faint whisper. Whisper, you may have returned the orb, but the beings that were summoned have not left this world. They are still here, waiting for their sacrifice. The friends turned around, but there was no one there. They knew that they had only just begun to face the consequences of their actions, and they wondered what else was in store for them. As they drove away from the haunted house on the hill, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. They didn't know what kind of horrors awaited them in the future, but they knew that they would have to face them together. And with that, the story ends on a cliffhanger, leaving the fate of the friends and the world they live in uncertain.